Bottom Line viewers. It's Mitch here, live for NFL free agency today on Monday, March 16th. Free agency 2020 is already underway. A bunch of things are already going on. A bunch of releases, signings, re-signings, franchise tags, potential trade rumors. So there's a lot to talk about here today. I'm going to be live for as long as I possibly can handle, and I'm going to break down every single signing I see come across the Twitter machine, and I'm just going to have some fun. Hopefully you can have some fun. Let's chat it up in the chat. Let me know what you guys think. Free agency, man, it's finally here. I've done a million prediction videos. I've done a million breakdowns for every team. It's finally here. We can finally talk about it. So let's get into that. Before I do start breaking down the latest signings, the latest moves, the latest releases, make sure you do Gronk Spike, the like button, and subscribe to the Bottom Line View for more NFL free agency content. And if you enjoy this type of live content, I'm always live. I'm always talking NFL. So subscribe. And of course, comment your opinion, whether it's after the fact and you're watching this when the video's uploaded to YouTube, or if you're watching it right now live while I'm doing this. Comment your opinion, comment your questions, let me know anything you want to know about the NFL. Maybe you're doing something. I know this is a weird situation we're in right now in the world, but if you're out there doing something else and maybe you're checking out your phone, you're listening to me live, just type your questions in and let me know what you need to know live right now. All right, so let's get into it. NFL free agency. I don't even know where to start because there's so many things going on and I feel overwhelmed, guys. So let's start with the latest. So I'm just going to go with the latest and we're going to work backwards when I have the time to go over some of the things that have already happened. Let's do it like that. So Adam Schefter tweeted 15 minutes ago that Darius Slay, there have been trade talks revolving around the Detroit Lions cornerback, and the teams involved are the Dolphins, the Jets, the Raiders, the Eagles. They're among the clubs that have discussed interest in impending free agent cornerback Byron Jones from Josina Anderson. And Schefter put one of the teams that doesn't land Byron Jones then could wind up trading for Lions Darius Slay. So it seems like Byron Jones is the first domino to fall in the cornerback market. And then we have Darius Slay, and we'll see where he goes. But it does seem like he is going to be traded. I just got a notification. What is that about? All right, Benjamin Watson retired. I already knew that. Continuing on. Tom Brady, he has returned from vacation in Costa Rica. He was clearing his head, according to Ian Rappaport, and it's right on time for the big few days of free agency. Ian Rappaport last reported on Tom Brady 32 minutes ago, discussing that the tampering window has opened and Tom Brady has now been hearing from teams. The understanding from Rappaport is that the Chargers and the Bucs will inquire, and of course New England wants him back. That is the Tom Brady market as of now, and I don't think that's going to change. I think those are the three teams that will be discussing contracts or potentially signing Tom Brady. I do not think... We got a report from Chris Sims yesterday, who's like best friends with Kyle Shanahan. The 49ers are out. They're not in. The Raiders don't seem to be in the conversation at all for Tom Brady. And basically any other team you thought could be in the conversation, it is the Bucs, the Chargers, and of course the Patriots. And if I had to guess right now, it's the Patriots who are going to take home Tom Brady. But we'll have to see. I think the Chargers are probably third on the list and the Bucs are second. I don't know. That's kind of something else. All right, let's get to the chat. What's everybody saying? Big Blue for Life says, do you think it's possible for the Giants to give Clowney the mega deal he is looking for, even though they franchise tag Leonard Williams? Well, Big Blue, I did expect them to sign Leonard Williams or to franchise him either way. They have done that. I just thought, all the reports from Gettleman and from the organization were that Leonard Williams was going to be back, because if he wasn't, then the organization was going to look bad, basically. So I thought that he would probably be re-signed. So in terms of Clowney, I still think they have the opportunity to go out there and sign Clowney. Now, I don't think if they signed Clowney, they would be able to get Golden back, but I think they would be perfectly fine with upgrading Clowney at the edge position. So I do think the Giants will be one of the teams involved in the conversations for Jadeveon Clowney. As I've already expressed throughout multiple videos, I think that's a great fit for Clowney, but I don't know if they're necessarily the favorite. I do think that they're going to be in the discussions, though. Flame says the Packers are making moves. Hopefully Buffalo doesn't do anything dumb. Jared says Freeman and Trufant are out of Atlanta, so I'll discuss that. Nice to bring that up. Yes, so Trufant and Freeman have been released by the Atlanta Falcons. Cornerback Desmond Trufant and running back Devonta Freeman, for clarification, they've been released. So it's looking like almost a new era in Atlanta. It's looking like they're moving on. They're looking to free up some cap space to potentially make some bigger moves or potentially revamp part of their roster. Now, I do think with Trufant, they totally want to revamp their entire cornerback group, because that cornerback group has not been very good really since for a long time. If you want to consider them a good unit in like 2016, 2017, I would give you that. But for the most part, they have not been at least in the elite conversation. So I wonder if Atlanta will secretly be one of the teams involved in the cornerback market and possibly in the Slay trade negotiations, possibly. I don't know if they have enough money for Byron Jones, but for somebody in the cornerback market that may be sneaking under the radar, if Atlanta does peek their head in there and say, because they let go of Desmond Trufant. And then on the flip side, where's Desmond Trufant going to go? I do think a perfect place for him would be Seattle. I think that makes a lot of sense. I think Seattle should be all over him when it comes to that, because I don't think Trufant's like an elite corner. I think he is a capable starter, though. He didn't have the greatest of seasons last year, and I do think that he would probably help Seattle's secondary. So I do think Seattle would be a good place for Trufant. As for Freeman, the one team that kind of sticked out to me was the Detroit Lions. I could see the Detroit Lions having interest in Devonta Freeman as a potential backup for Kerryon Johnson. We'll have to see if they're interested in running backs in the market. I heard rumors about Melvin Gordon. I've heard rumors about them potentially drafting somebody. I do think that they want to bring in another running back to help take the load off of Kerryon Johnson, a player who's been injured regularly over the last couple of seasons. So there's that. Those two guys, they're out of Atlanta. New generation, new players in the fold for the Atlanta Falcons. What else do we have here? Breida to Buffalo, says Logan. I don't know if that's a real thing or if you're just saying that, so please clarify. Logan says, do you think Buffalo will get Cooper? No. I think Cooper's going to end up back in Dallas if I had to guess. But if there are teams interested, I would expect the Bills to be one of the teams interested outside of the Cowboys. It's going to be interesting to see how those Cooper talks kind of go down, because he wasn't re-signed before free agency as far as I'm concerned. So he's basically a free agent. Anybody can talk to him. Anybody can offer him whatever they want, whether that's Buffalo, whether that's a team like the Colts, or a team like New England, or one of these teams that needs receivers and has enough money to do so. And we'll have to see what goes down with Amari Cooper. Oh, we have something here. Cleveland Browns are working to close a deal with Austin Hooper, making him the game's highest paid tight end. Wow. Okay here, Adam Schefter. Settle down, buddy. Let me see. All right. Jeremy Fowler, he was the one to report it from ESPN. So the Cleveland Browns are working to close a deal on Austin Hooper, making him the game's highest paid tight end per source. Other teams can swoop in late, but Browns are the leader. Okay, so Browns are the leader. They haven't signed him yet. Once they sign him, I'll break down that move, because that's a big move. And making him the highest paid tight end in the league would be a big deal, because I don't think Austin Hooper is the best tight end in the league, and I don't think he deserves that type of money. But we do know that George Kittle is going to top that regardless once his contract is up, so it is what it is. Back to the chat. Where do I think Brady is signing? Sports Today, I do think he is going to sign with New England. Kevin Durkant says the Steelers didn't even cut their cap casualties. Their GM should be fired. They have like no cap space. The Phenom says, what's happening with Armstead? I haven't heard anything about Armstead yet, so I'll let you know when that comes up. Zach says, I think Tom Brady should go to the XFL, Mitch. What do you think? A big fat Batista for you. No, thank you. Rick Wagner is gone. Rick Wagner is in Green Bay. He signed a contract with the Packers. I could get into that a little bit. Let's get into that. Rick Wagner. Do we have another report? No, Benjamin Watson. Okay, guys, I know Benjamin Watson is retired, Bleacher Report. Can you, I get it. He's been retired for a little bit, I thought. Okay, what do we have here? Tackles. I just want to check and clarify. So, Rick Wagner, Detroit. Do they already have him on Green Bay? Wagner. Okay, no. Come on. Sirens of Toronto in the background. Alright. Okay. So, let's go over Rick Wagner. So, Rick Wagner. Okay, there we go. Rick Wagner has been signed by the Green Bay Packers to replace Brian Bulaga. Brian Bulaga is going to be gone. It's becoming clear, according to Ian Rappaport, that Brian Bulaga is going to see you later. He's going to be out. So that means the Packers need to go out. They needed to get a veteran in the building to address that right tackle position. Rick Wagner is exactly that. Now, is he Brian Bulaga? Is he an elite player at the position? No. But he is a capable starter. He started for a couple of seasons now for the Detroit Lions. He played, I believe, for Baltimore off the top of my head back in the day. He was drafted by the Baltimore Ravens in 2013 as a 5th rounder, but he ended up becoming a starter from Wisconsin. The Lions signed Wagner to a 5-year contract in 2017 where he played 30 of the possible 36 games. But he just lasted 3 seasons with Detroit. This is a player that he's not going to be Brian Bulaga for you. He's a solid, capable, starting right tackle. He's nothing really to worry about. You're not worried about him constantly being beat time after time, rep after rep. He is not quite the pass blocking guy that Brian Bulaga is. Bulaga is one of the elite pass blocking right tackles in the NFL, and you're not going to have that with Wagner. But what you probably will have is an all-around decent tackle who won't be hurting you starting him at right tackle, and he's, I would say, probably just as good of a run blocker as Bulaga is. I've really want to say that he is more of the run blocking type of right tackle than the pass blocking type of right tackle, and that kind of does suit more so the offense that the Packers are trying to go to with their new offensive scheme from last season. With LaFleur in the fold, they ran the ball a lot more often, so I do think Wagner will add to that element of their offense. But overall, this is just a player that is going to replace a guy that you couldn't re-sign. It's really as simple as that. There's nothing really else to be said there. Now, in terms of the contract details, I do want to find that out before I do say goodbye on the Wagner here. 2-year deal. So it's a 2-year contract. Make $11 million over 2 years with a $2.25 base salary plus a $1 million roster bonus if he's on the team on the 3rd day of the 2021 league year. Wagner will also get a $250,000 workout bonus, which can go up to $750,000. He also has $2.75 million playtime base escalator in 2021. So those are the full contract details there. He was a player coming from Baltimore that was looked at as a prime, one of the best right tackles in the game. So maybe if he can get back to that in Green Bay, it's a possibility. Of course, the Ravens have gotten rid of, what am I trying to say here? Rick Wagner is a former Raven. Zadarius Smith is a former Raven. They're both on Green Bay. We saw how Zadarius Smith worked out. You're hoping, if you're a Packers fan, that Wagner works out the same way. Green Bay finished 12th in the league with 36 sacks allowed, but just 15th in the league in rushing. Adding Wagner is a cheaper option, but it remains to be seen if the Packers' offensive line will improve. There you go. There's a little CBS analysis there. All right, so next up, who's next? Did we get an alert? Is this clarified, though, the Austin Hooper thing? Like, let's see. I don't want to. Okay, it's clarified. All right, let's do Austin Hooper. Let's do that. So, Austin Hooper. Check his stats out. All right. What's the contract, though? Can you guys please tell me the contract, Ian Rappaport? All right. So, Austin Hooper has been signed by the Cleveland Browns. Not a team that I really thought would be in the market for a tight end, but they were. And Austin Hooper is headed to Cleveland to team up with probably Odell Beckham Jr., Jarvis Landry, Baker Mayfield, and the Cleveland Browns offense, along with Nick Chubb. Austin Hooper, I think, is a nice fit for this offense. I think this is a player that is versatile at tight end. He's not just a guy that's going to be a receiver. He can also block well. And we've seen that the Browns have kind of been wanting a tight end within their offense. They drafted David Njoku. They brought in multiple tight ends from free agency in the past, and none of them have necessarily worked out. I think the hope here is a player in Austin Hooper who's a little bit more established than, let's say, a rookie like Njoku or some of the free agent guys that they've signed in the past. Hooper has had some success 2 years in a row. He's still very young, and he'll grow with Baker Mayfield. He'll grow with this offense, and I think the biggest beneficiary to this move is Baker Mayfield. He gets a target in the middle of the field that's very reliable, good route runner, soft hands, very smart, and understands zone coverages, how to get in between those zones and make catches in traffic, make big plays down the seam, all of that and more. Austin Hooper is not necessarily one of the best athletes at the tight end position, but I would say his biggest asset is the fact that he is just a very smart player, and he's always seemed to be on the right page with his quarterback. He built a great chemistry with Matt Ryan, and I think the hope here for Cleveland is that they want a guy that can also build that chemistry with Baker Mayfield and be that reliable player for Baker Mayfield. And if you remember correctly, Baker Mayfield in college had some reliable tight end options as well. So Austin Hooper is going to give that to him, something he hasn't really had through his young career for Baker. Last season, 75 catches, 787 yards, and 6 touchdowns. That was a career season in only 13 games played. And then in 2018, the season before, he had 71 catches, 660 yards, and 4 touchdowns. I think Austin Hooper is somewhere within the top 7 tight ends in football today. I don't think he's one of the 5 best. I probably would leave him outside that conversation, but I do believe he is in somewhere in that range. He's a back-to-back Pro Bowler. He is only 25, going on 26 years old, so he could get better. And I think this is going to just open up the middle of the field, give a third weapon to the passing game for the Browns, and overall upgrade the offense. He'll help you with run blocking in the run game a little bit, but he's more so the pass catcher, and especially the pass catcher underneath. He's going to eat up receptions, 5 yards and under, 10 yards and under, third down. He's going to be reliable at the marker. So Austin Hooper, I think, is a good signing. I do want to see the numbers on the signing, but Austin Hooper officially has become the highest paid tight end in the NFL. I don't exactly know the numbers, but I guess we can get an assumption here. It's a pretty big contract. So Hooper to the Browns, the money might be a bit much. I didn't want my team, the Patriots, to sign Austin Hooper because I didn't find that he was enough of a mismatch weapon for you to really warrant paying him that amount of money. So that's my opinion on that. But I do think, there's two sides to this, right? So on one side, I believe it's an upgrade for the Browns offense. It's going to help the Browns offense. You're going to get another weapon. But on the other side, you're potentially paying a player that is probably not the best at his position, the most money at his position. It's a bit too much money for my taste. So you pick, that's the way free agency goes. You have to overpay players if you want players. And I do question, was the tight end the number one need for the Browns? Now, we'll have to see how it impacts the offense. I think it will have a great impact, a positive impact, but was it more important than defensively, safety, linebacker, edge rusher? Was it more important to pay that tight end, or are you going to be able to pay multiple players? We'll just have to see how the Cleveland Browns plan unfolds for this free agency, but overall, Austin Hooper going to the Browns, I think it's a solid move, just maybe a bit too much money for a player that I just don't know is at that elite level of a Zach Ertz or a Travis Kelce or a George Kittle. So there you go on Austin Hooper. The next is AJ Green getting traded, says Kevin Durkant. I haven't seen anything about that yet, but we'll have to see. Let's see what the latest notifications are. Let's actually go over this because I think this is very interesting, and I did not see this coming as a Patriots fan myself. Joe Tunney is actually franchised. So this was a player that I thought was going to be paid major bucks on the open market. I thought this guy was going to be paid big time moolah, let's say, Joe Tunney, from whether it was the Dolphins, the Giants, one of these teams that needed offensive line, the Jets. There's a lot of teams out there that needed a guard, that needed offensive line. I think Joe Tunney being franchise tagged is absolutely fascinating, because I did not see it coming. I thought they were going to let him go, because over the past couple of seasons, the Patriots have been perfectly fine with letting go of their top offensive linemen. Whether it's been Nate Solder or Trent Brown, they have let them go. Now, you would argue that they've also been willing to re-sign interior offensive linemen. So I wonder if the Patriots value that interior offensive lineman, and Bill Belichick values that interior offensive lineman a little bit more than the rest of the NFL, as he re-signed Shaq Mason, re-signed Dave Andrews, who's coming back this season, and now you'll have your offensive line intact going into next season, which I think is going to be a big thing for Tom Brady if he is indeed coming back. You would then have that offensive line that in 2018 essentially was one of the best in the league. 2019, they were missing Dave Andrews, and also they were going through a transition at left tackle where Wynn did not play full games, but Wynn is going to be the full-time starter at left tackle. And now you really look at the Patriots offensive line with Joe Tunney being franchised. You don't have to worry about the left guard position. Maybe it was worth it to franchise tag him and to take up that cap space to re-sign an elite player at his position, an elite pass blocker at his position like Joe Tunney, because now you don't have to draft a left guard, you don't have to sign a left guard, and you don't have to worry about replacing one of the best players at his position. So that is awesome for the Patriots, awesome for Tom Brady, awesome for Sony Michel in the run game, and sucks for the rest of the league who wanted to sign Joe Tunney because he's such a great player, and I'm sure he would have gotten great money. But we'll have to see if that actually happens next year. Maybe the Patriots keep him this one more year. They try and get Tom Brady, go for the run one more time. But I think if you're a Patriots fan, you're very happy that the Patriots offensive line is intact, because when it's intact, it's one of the best in the NFL, and it will remain that way for 2019 with Andrews at center, Mason and Tunney at guard, one of the best interior offensive lines, if not the best in the league. And then you have the 2 tackles with Isaiah Wynn and Marcus Cannon. So Joe Tunney remains a Patriot, and kind of a shocker, but as a Patriots fan myself, I'm very happy about that one. All right, what's next? I'm excited. Okay, what's next? Where's Tom Brady signing? Come on, let's go. Report Austin Hooper. We got that down. All right, let's go back to the chat. Guys, if you haven't already, make sure that you do Gronk Spike the like button. Sports Expert says, where are the signings? Need my Browns to get Conklin. Well, your Browns just got Austin Hooper. Conklin, there's been no report on Conklin, like not absolutely anything. Like, I haven't heard a word about Conklin. Not a tweet from Rappaport, Schefter, or the like. So we'll see what happens with him. Dominic says, have a blessed day. I enjoy your content. Thank you, Dominic, for the nice comment. N. Smith says, Bills to trade for Yannick Ngakoue. Well, I would be scared as a Patriots fan if that is the case, but I could see that very well happening, and that was one of my predictions that I could see happening. But in terms of where Ngakoue could go, off the top of my head, I think Buffalo could be one of the teams. I think you have to throw the Jets into any conversation involving a pass rusher, as well as the Dolphins. So 3 out of the 4 AFC East teams. Just looking at this, just want to go through and not miss one. The Raiders, I think, would be interested. I feel Seattle would definitely be interested. I think the Giants would be interested. I think, what else? I would have thought the Browns, but I don't know if they'll have the money. If they do release Olivier Vernon, they might be able to open up some more cap space for a potential move there. Who else? The Lions, I could see being interested in Ngakoue. And I don't think Atlanta still has the money to do that. I would say the Colts, but they're in their division. So those are probably the teams I'm saying looking at Ngakoue. What happens if Detroit signs Byron? So if Detroit signs Byron, I do suspect that Darius Slay will be traded. And I think that would be the best way for Patricia to build his secondary, because we know that, this type of defense, the Patricia defense, he plays more man-to-man coverage than anybody in the NFL. He wants those elite corners in his secondary, and potentially with Byron Jones, Justin Coleman in the slot, and then if you draft like Okuda or something like that early in the draft, that is one of the best secondaries, one of the best corner groups already in the NFL, just like that. So if you get rid of Slay, maybe you get back a second rounder, third rounder, something like that. You can use that pick on other needs on your roster. I think that's actually a really wise move if the Lions were to go in that route. But we'll have to see if they're willing to pay that much money to Byron Jones. That's the question. Charm City says, I would love to get Marcus Golden to the Ravens. King says, can AJ Green or Robbie Anderson go to the Saints? I do want to see what the Saints do here for receivers. Who are they going after? Are they trading for somebody? Actually, bringing this up, Brandon Cooks has been said to be on the market. So we'll have to see if Brandon Cooks is a possibility for one of these wide receiver needy teams. As I spill water all over me. Okay. All right. Yeah, the Saints, I think they need to go after a receiver, whether that's Emmanuel Sanders, AJ Green, a trade, one of these lower tier receivers, anybody. I think they need a number 2 wide receiver to open up their offense for Michael Thomas. Dolphins getting Tua, says Dolphin fan number 1. Eric says Kenyon Drake to the Lions. I think that would be a good fit, honestly. What else we have here? Damn, so many comments. Thank you guys for being here live. Logan says Breida to Buffalo. Alex says Giants pass on Clowney. Hopkins to the Pats. DeAndre Hopkins? Yeah, I wish. Is that who you're saying? I could definitely see Njoku to the Patriots, yes. I hope that happens, actually. Browns fan, do you think the Browns will get Clowney? No. He'll make too much money. There's no way you can have Clowney and Myles Garrett on your roster at the same time. It's like impossible. It's not going to happen. I hope the Chiefs don't sign Melvin Gordon. And it's not because of the talent, because that's happened. Like, look at the Chargers, for example, or the 49ers. But the money. I mean, the cap space that it would take to have 2 edge rushers that would make that much money. Yusef is in the chat. He says, what do you think about possible trade between the Pats and Dolphins? Tunney for Devontae Parker. Where are you hearing this stuff? That would be wild, especially an inter-division trade. But I mean, I wouldn't necessarily be surprised if Tunney was traded. I wouldn't necessarily be surprised if that happened, because Tunney is going to be wanted by a lot of teams, and he's a very valuable player. So potentially that's the reason the Patriots did franchise him. Maybe that went over my head. I don't know. We'll have to see what comes down with Bill Belichick. You never know what he's thinking out there. All right, I just got a tweet. The Steelers have terminated contracts with linebacker Mark Barron, linebacker Anthony Chiquilo, and wide receiver Johnny Holton. I think that's everybody. Austin Hooper's official contract is 4 years for $44 million, so $11 million per year. I actually want to check where that lands in terms of players across the league. So Sports Track is clutch. What else we have here? Austin. Let's go back. Okay. So, average salary for Travis Kelce is $9 million. So that's crazy. $9 million for Travis Kelce, $11 million average salary for Austin Hooper. That's almost nearly $2 million difference, 9.3 to $11 million. So that definitely means that the tight end market is being reset this offseason. Kittle is going to go to the 49ers and say, I want $15 million. Sign me up right now. And it's going to happen. You know it is. I just got another tweet. Okay, this makes a lot of sense here. Let's see. The Miami Dolphins agree to terms with Erik Flowers, guard Erik Flowers, formerly of the Washington Redskins, played tackle for the New York Giants. It's $30 million over 3 years with $19 million guaranteed. No, actually nearly $20 million. It's $19.95 million guaranteed. So nearly $20 million guaranteed. Erik is coming home to Miami, states Ian Rappaport. So actually, this is very interesting because I feel like this was, I don't want to call it a reactionary move, but I do feel in some cases it was a reactionary move to Joe Tunney being franchised, because I think the number one destination for Joe Tunney was the Dolphins. So that being said, Erik Flowers was most likely, I don't want to put words in their mouth or anything like that, most likely the backup plan to Joe Tunney being franchised or being signed by another team was Erik Flowers for the Dolphins. Because the Dolphins, they desperately needed offensive linemen, so I like that they went out and they signed offensive linemen. Flowers was good last year. I know that he has a bad reputation across the NFL because he's kind of been viewed as a bust. He hasn't been able to live up to his draft stock early on in his career, but that was at tackle. You shift him to guard, he's a better player. Now, is he elite? No, but he's better than what he was. Erik Flowers ranked 30th last season by PFF at the guard position. So overall, that's a top 15 player at either guard position. That's pretty good. That's a pretty good signing overall for the Dolphins. It might be, a little bit too much money for a player that's had really one. Personally, it's interesting because if he could play to the level that he played last season, he's 25 years old. He was great in college. If he can live up to his draft stock now at the guard position, and this was the right move for his career, and all of a sudden it turns around his entire career, then I think this is a good signing. But there is the potential that with this 3-year deal with nearly $20 million guaranteed for a player that's only had one good season in the NFL, it might be a little risky, a little bit risky there. So I think it's a solid signing in terms of filling a need. I do think it brings a lot of risk, but you are getting a guard who's only 25 years old. And if it works out, you're getting a player in the prime of his career who's athletically very good and could develop into being one of the best players at the position. So there's risk you got to weigh the risk in free agency. And we know, as I've said many times, you're going to overpay these players. But with this move, there's a lot of potential. I see the potential that Brian Flores, the Dolphins, see in Ereck Flowers. And I'm looking forward to seeing if he can live up to what he did last season with Washington and continue to get better at guard for the Dolphins. I think this is a good signing for Miami. And it's a good start on their offensive line. The worst offensive line in the league last year. So, Ereck Flowers to the Dolphins. What else we have here? Coach says, boys, get Harris. Kevin Durkant says Harris is staying. Yeah, Harris, I believe, was franchise tagged. Eric says, no, Pats will trade for Green, plus Amari likes Dallas. Flame says, Hooper to the Browns. Yusef says, what do you think? Or I already said that. What else? King says, Saints will get Robbie Anderson. Browns fan says, Kevin Stefanski likes his tight ends. That's very true. Kyle Rudolph, Irv Smith. David says, what's up with Blake Martinez? I haven't heard anything about Blake. Kevin Durkant says, well, damn, I gotta head out early. See ya, Mitch. I'll check the rest of it out later. All right, Kevin Durkant. Guitar says, yo, Ultra did leave a $4.99 donation, which I highly appreciate. Oh my goodness, something just happened. Ultra with $4.99, he says, Mitch, what do you think of the Cousins extension? If you talked about it, I missed it. I will talk about that in just a second, Ultra, but something just happened, so I need to talk about that right now. So, what just happened? The Cardinals and the Texans have agreed to a trade that will send David Johnson to the Houston Texans. David Johnson, former All-Pro, borderline MVP, number one pick in fantasy type of running back, has been traded to the Houston Texans. So David Johnson will end up being the number one running back for Houston in 2020. He will replace Carlos Hyde. Carlos Hyde's a free agent. He's going to go elsewhere. Duke Johnson is there. So you have two running backs who are both very good as runners and very good as pass catchers. I want to see what the trade is exactly because I'm breaking this live, but I want to see exactly what's going on. ESPN has reported it. Adam Schefter, David Johnson to Houston. But what does this give the Houston Texans? Well, first off, I respect it, all right? I respect the move by the Houston Texans because I respect the fact that they are going to go for it. They are not going to sit back. They're not going to just wait for the future to come to them. They're going to say, we have Deshaun Watson. We want to win. We want to do things. And I know that Bill O'Brien is the coach and the GM, and he's taking some slack and he's taking some heat and all that jazz. But at least he's willing to make some moves. At least he's willing to go out there and trade for Tunzel. At least he's willing to trade for Kenny Stills. At least he's willing to surround Deshaun Watson with the weaponry. Now, from the alternate perspective, you could take a look at this for Bill O'Brien as being a little bit selfish, right? He's an offensive coach. He's also the GM. He wants as many weapons on his offense as possible. So by grabbing all these weapons, trading for these weapons, signing all these weapons, you are then going to leave your defense depleted. The number one need for the Texans was corner. You know, they had needs. They have DJ Reader on the market at defensive tackle. Don't know if they're going to be in the market to re-sign him. J.J. Watt would like another edge rusher on his team, by his side, helping him get after the quarterback. You know, this team, the Texans, would be helped a lot by a better defense. But it looks like the Texans are willing to say, I don't want to say that, but defense? What's defense when you can score 35 points a game? And I think that's what the Texans are trying to do. Now the question remains, is David Johnson the same David Johnson? Is David Johnson really still a really good running back? Did those injuries really affect him that much to the point where he just wasn't effective in Arizona? He just wasn't the same player, and you have to wonder if he can get back to that. So in 2018 and 2019, his statistics dropped off mightily from 2016, where he was the All-Pro player, Pro Bowl player. Even in 2015, he was kind of like a breakout rookie. He is going to be 29 in 2020. 2018, he ran for 940 yards, 7 touchdowns on 3.6 yards per attempt, 50 catches, 446 yards, and 3 touchdowns on the worst team in the entire NFL. 2019, things were supposed to be better for David Johnson. And he showed that he could still catch the ball very well. 36 catches, 370 yards, 4 touchdowns, and 10.3 yards per reception. But running the football is a different story. 94 rushes, 345 yards, 2 touchdowns, 3.7 yards per attempt. Now, if you know me, you understand that I don't like paying running backs a lot of money. So, again, this is a move that I feel very so-so about. I feel like there's two sides to this. There's the side where, yes, I like that they're going out there, they're making moves for a player like David Johnson, for the capabilities of David Johnson, for the skill set of David Johnson that will add to this offense. He's a good running back, still, I believe. I don't know if he's still a great or elite running back. I would have to say he isn't. But I still believe he has the talent to be that. He's a very good pass catcher, and I think that will help this offense. I think the fact that him and Duke Johnson can be interchanged within this offense, and you can rotate them within the same role and do the same things with them, I think is great for this offense. I think it's really going to help bring balance to this offense. I think Bill O'Brien's always been good with that sort of position, and he's really wanted to get that pass-catching running back within his offense, which is why he traded for Duke Johnson. So, David Johnson, I think, is a good move for the reasons why you go after it. You try to win that Super Bowl. But then at the same time, paying a running back that much money, are they going to restructure his contract? We need to hear about that going forward. Is he going to be playing on the same terms that he was playing in Arizona? Because that was a lot of money. And that's the reason why he was traded. So we have to see if the Texans are willing to pay him that much money, because I don't believe in paying running backs a lot of money. It holds your team back from signing other players, from helping your team in other areas. And it's been shown and been proven that running backs are unreliable, that running backs from season to season can be totally different type of players, as we've seen already with David Johnson. And these type of players, David Johnson, Todd Gurley, Ezekiel Elliott, it hasn't helped their team. Devonta Freeman was just released today. It hasn't helped their team that they were making this much money. So we'll have to see if the Texans are able to reconstruct his contract and hopefully help out. They do get a talented player, but help out that salary is very important as well. Texans will take on all of running back David Johnson's salary, says Adam Schefter. There you go. So, fantasy stud David Johnson to the Houston Texans. Man, I didn't see that one coming. Honestly, I thought, David Johnson, if he's traded, I thought maybe the Bucks. I thought it was a possibility David Johnson would get traded. Don't get me wrong. But to be traded to the Texans is the interesting one. I thought the Texans would just work on their defense, sign defensive players, and re-sign Carlos Hyde. But that's not the case. And you have to wonder, if David Johnson can be that elite running back that he once was, what is the potential of this offense? I think that is fascinating. I think that's interesting. Because this offense could rival the Chiefs' offense next season. Be very good if David Johnson can play the way he used to play. Maybe it's just a matter of a couple seasons, after the knee injury. He's better, he's physically feeling better, and that helps teams a lot. We'll have to see. But for the Cardinals on the flip side, I think Kenyon Drake, which is interesting that they signed him to a transition tag. I don't know if they plan on making Kenyon Drake their starting running back, if they decide to keep Kenyon Drake, but if somebody signs him on the transition tag, that's fine. Or if they decide to draft a running back. I think there's a lot of questions regarding the running back position now in Arizona because of what they've done with the moves this free agency. Although I would say, from what I was saying earlier, I don't like paying running backs, so I do like what Arizona has done in terms of getting rid of the salary cap of David Johnson and also not willing to sign Kenyon Drake to a big contract. I like Arizona's first steps in free agency so far, and I like that they traded David Johnson because he wasn't a fit for this offense. At the same time, I do think he's a better fit for the Texans offense. We'll have to see how it works out. Okay, the 49ers are making a move. Let's see what they do. The 49ers are giving star defensive lineman Arik Armstead a 5-year deal. Sources say avoiding the franchise tag and locking him up long term. Armstead gets up to $85 million on the new deal. Arik Armstead's cashing in on leading the 49ers in sacks, on getting to the Super Bowl, and a huge reason was the defensive line. So, Arik Armstead, they wanted to keep that defensive line intact. They will keep that defensive line intact going into the future with DeForest Buckner, Arik Armstead, Nick Bosa, D Ford. The front four is there for the foreseeable future. And I think 49ers fans gotta be happy. I think they gotta really be smiling right now. I'm sure if you're a 49ers fan, you're really happy because, that defensive line is going to be productive for you. That defensive line is just about, if they're healthy every season, and if they're together, they're going to have one of the 10 best defenses no matter what the rest of their defense looks like. Because if you're able to get that amount of pressure consistently after quarterbacks, you're going to be a good defense. I don't care who your corners are. I don't care who your safeties are or who your linebackers are. And it just so happens that the 49ers have good players at other positions as well, which makes them one of the best defenses going into 2020. And I think this was a massive move. I think this was priority number one for Kyle Shanahan, John Lynch, and the entire 49ers organization. They wanted to keep Armstead. They wanted to keep that defensive line, and they've done it. In terms of the deal, I think it's a pretty fair deal. I think the only question with Arik Armstead is how much of Armstead was a product of the players around him and how much of it was Armstead. That's the question. Now, you could argue that Armstead was one of the more important players. And I would argue that what Armstead is able to do and his versatility is unlike any of the players on the 49ers defensive line. I think you could argue he is the most valuable player on that defensive line. Although I would say, Buckner and Boza are just as good, if not better. What Armstead's able to do is a lot like what Michael Bennett was able to do for Seattle. He plays outside. He can stop the run, set the edge, but then he can also go to the interior and rush from there. He's big, he's strong, he's athletic, he's everything you want in a defensive lineman. Arik Armstead's a stud. He's still very young, led the team in sacks, and he ranked very highly for PFF last season. I think, again, he's probably a player, if the 49ers get rid of, it's going to be very difficult to replace because of all he does for the defensive line and the different roles he plays for that defensive line. So Arik Armstead re-signs with the San Francisco 49ers. Oh my goodness! Hopkins! What? Am I reading this correctly? Let me see. Let me check it. I don't have glasses. The Houston Texans are trading DeAndre Hopkins to the Arizona Cardinals. What? Are you serious? Wow. The Cardinals are getting DeAndre Hopkins for David Johnson. This totally changes this. What? Are you kidding me? What? I thought it was David Johnson getting traded too. That's crazy. What are the Texans doing? Just the first response. I mean, what? I was sitting here saying, David Johnson adding to this offense is great, but he has a lot of issues. I mean, he hasn't been the same player. He's a little bit older now. He's a running back. He's going to take up all this cap space. I just went through that whole soliloquy. And now we find out that David Johnson is getting traded for arguably the best receiver in pro football. I would personally not say DeAndre Hopkins is the best receiver, but he's certainly in the top 5. Certainly. Kyler Murray gets his number 1 guy. And you know what's crazy about this? DeAndre Hopkins is basically Larry Fitzgerald 2.0. I mean, there's a lot of similarities there. Receivers that are tall, great hands, great body control. Not necessarily the fastest, but can always win one-on-one jump balls. I want to see if there were added picks to this deal, because that straight up is ludicrous if you are the Texans. That is a Madden trade gone wrong. Let's see. Okay, this is better, all right? Framework for the trade. Still being finalized. Cardinals get DeAndre Hopkins and a late round pick. What is the late round pick? A 4th, a 5th, a 6th, a 7th? What is it? Texans get David Johnson and a 2nd round pick. That makes more sense. Adam Schefter says there's other picks involved, but Hopkins wanted a new deal that Arizona can provide. The Texans weren't willing to give a new deal to DeAndre Hopkins? They weren't? Deshaun Watson's favorite receiver. They weren't willing to give him a new contract? There's so many things running through my mind right now. So if I'm trying to defend the Texans. How do I go about doing it? So, they get a running back who's an upgrade for their position. They get a second-round pick. They don't have a lot of picks, okay? Fair. They could use that second-round pick on their really bad secondary. Let's hope. Okay. DeAndre Hopkins has proven to be an amazing receiver. But he is not the receiver that if the Texans lose, the offensive production falls. That's Fuller, actually. Will Fuller has a major impact on the Texans' offensive output. And now, that's hard to say because Hopkins rarely misses any games. So, it's hard to defend the Texans in this case, even with the second-round pick being added to the trade, because receivers are so much more valuable than a running back. Especially a running back with injury history, especially a running back with one great season and the rest being average to bad, to being, is he still the same guy? Sure, David Johnson's a versatile player, versatile weapon, good pass catcher out of the backfield, but is he DeAndre Hopkins? No. I mean, DeAndre Hopkins, I would say last year had the best game versus Stephon Gilmore of any receiver in the league. Oh, other than Devontae Parker week 17, but we don't count that. All right. But DeAndre Hopkins, he's a stud. He's really good. He's an excellent jump ball player. I think Kyler Murray, with his accuracy, downfield touch, and ability to, just like Deshaun Watson, escape the pocket and make a play happen, that's going to be an excellent duo. That's going to be a great combination. I think this is a major move for the Cardinals, but I think it's a very good move. And I think the Cardinals really, when you look at it, they don't really need any more receivers after this. I know that they were in play for a receiver in the first round because they needed a number one. Well, they have their number one now. Hopkins is their number one. So they have Hopkins. They still have Fitz for another season. He'll play the slot. They drafted two to three rookies last year, receiver. They drafted Andy Isabella last year. They have Christian Kirk as their solid number two, who I think is a good number two. They drafted Hakeem Butler. They brought in Keyshawn Johnson. I mean, and that's a good receiver core. I mean, Hopkins number one, Kirk number two, Fitz number three, Isabella number four, and then just go with the rest. I mean, that's good. That's a combination of speed. That's a combination of size. It's a combination of route running ability. That's everything. And the thing with the Cardinals is they'll probably add more receivers because they like to use a lot of receivers. They utilize 4 receiver sets. They utilize 5 receiver sets. A lot of their base offense is based out of 4 receivers. So this is a great move for the Cardinals. And I'm very excited for Kyler Murray. I'm very excited for Arizona fans. And I'm excited for this division because it's going to be so damn good. Just a second ago, I was talking about Arik Armstead being re-signed. But I do want to see what the contract is for Hopkins. What's the money like? We'll have to get those details. And we probably will get those details very soon. Wow. Breaking that trade, I thought it was Texans trading for David Johnson for not a lot of money. Not a lot of picks. Nothing, basically. Because they were taking on a huge contract. And then I thought it was fair. Right? This is beyond words. I can't explain it anymore. I mean, how do you trade David Johnson? I should restate that. How do you trade DeAndre Hopkins for David Johnson? I know you're getting a second-round pick, but we know how flimsy those second-round picks are. We know how unreliable those second-round picks are, especially in the case of the Texans, who are not particularly phenomenal drafters. And I understand you wanted to get a pick. But why trade DeAndre Hopkins? Why? Like, why? Like, that's Deshaun's guy. That's like his boy. That's like his number one. That's like his go-to. That's like the Colts trading Marvin Harrison when they had Peyton Manning in 2004 for like Sean Alexander. Like, what is this? This is an interesting move, to say the least. The Texans, I was praising the Texans for getting David Johnson because I thought it would help their offense with DeAndre Hopkins. But David Johnson is not going to help this offense more than DeAndre Hopkins would have. That's insane. That's insanity. So, is it Hopkins in a fourth? Says Atlanta fan. Wow. That changes fantasy, too. That has a major fantasy impact. And I really don't think it changes much for DeAndre Hopkins. I think he'll still be one of the 5 best receivers drafted. But David Johnson's interesting, for sure, for fantasy. And I do think David Johnson fits better for the Texans. He fits way better in their offense. I'm not trying to say that David Johnson's going to suck. But for one of the 5 best receivers, this is the thing, Rick Badboy. He says I'm overhyping Hopkins. I'm not, though. And this is why I'm not. Because receivers and weapons and number one receivers, tight ends, whatever it may be, guys that catch the football, are much more valuable than running backs because of their longevity. I could see DeAndre Hopkins playing until he's 38. I could see DeAndre Hopkins playing like he's Fitz. I mean, DeAndre Hopkins is a receiver that's not fast. I mean, he's not a guy that relies on athletic ability as much as he relies on savviness, physicality, hands, body control, chemistry with quarterbacks, and just his overall intelligence for the position. That's like Fitz, right? That's why Fitz has been able to play this long. He's, like Adam G says, Nuke is the best possession receiver in the league. And that's correct. Like, he is not going to burn you for 70 yards. But he's consistently going to catch first downs. And he's consistently going to be reliable for your quarterback. And he doesn't get hurt a lot. So, like, there's not really that question. Wow. Yeah, John's right. NFC West is the best division. And how old is Hopkins? Like 27? And David Johnson's older. Bill. Who gave Bill O'Brien the control? I started off this praising Billy O, and I want to like Billy O. I mean, he's a Patriot guy. This is just like, what are you doing? You're, like, literally, you put in order positions, right, of value. Quarterback, number 1, right? I'm writing this down. Number 2, you put, let's say, edge, okay? Number 3, okay, let's say it's tackle, all right? Number 4, you could argue is wide receiver. Okay? See this? Number 30, what is it? How many positions we have? I don't know. Okay, let's just say this. Last. running back, all right? This is GM number 1, okay? You trade the number 4 value, who's a better player, for the last value. This is like trading I don't know. This is like, I can't even relate it to any other sport because it's not even possible. This is like trading, I don't even know. I feel bad for Texans fans at this moment. Handwriting phenomenal, eh? Wow. Has anything else happened? I can't believe that. Are you serious? Is this real? Okay, they also get another 4th round pick. That's in 2021. Wait. Okay. I was going to say, is this second in 2021 too? Because that would be the worst trade of all time. Man. I love David Johnson too. I don't want to sound like I don't. But I just have questions about him. I have questions about whether he can still be David Johnson. That's wild. Can't believe it. Sammy says this is like trading your gummy gushers for popcorn. North says former 9th overall but struggled in New York. Eric Flowers. Rick Badboy says, Mitch, you really didn't see Hopkins getting traded this offseason? No, I didn't. Okay? You don't trade DeAndre. It's not like DeAndre Hopkins is like T.O. or Moss or Ocho or Odell or AB. Right? He doesn't have an issue. Crazy, man. Texans fans are punching air right now. All right, what's the next thing I should get to, guys? I can't even get over that move. I mean, we won't know how good that 2nd round pick is for a while. I mean, if that 2nd round pick is like Rob Gronkowski, then sure, it was a great trade. How many 2nd round picks are going to be better than DeAndre Hopkins? Is Kiki Kuti the only winner in Houston because of this trade? Will Fuller. All the receivers, I would say, are winners. In terms of, like, they're going to see more targets. I think Will Fuller is a big winner, but Kiki as well, probably a winner. I think they're going to keep Kenny Stills as well. And it's not like throwing it out there to Texans fans to look at this positively, it's not like their receiver core is bad. It's still good. If Fuller's healthy, that's the thing. Like, this is gonna... Bill O'Brien is gonna need to add some insurance policy to this receiver group, whether that's through free agency or through the draft. You're gonna need to get another receiver. Julio Jones. I could see Julio Jones being traded, but like I don't really think that's gonna happen. Like if I had to guess, I'd say no, but I wouldn't say it's impossible after what I just saw. And Julio Jones, the fact that Atlanta is kind of like in a rebuilding phase right now, it looks like. Rick, this is different though. I think, first off, I think the Cardinals, I want to say it's different. Because I believe in Kyler more at this moment than I believed in Baker back last year. I also want to say that that's the Browns. And the Browns. Plus, they hired Freddie Kitchens to be their coach, which wasn't a great idea. I think Cliff Kingsbury has at least shown more than... I don't know. Like, plus Odell was hurt all year last year, so they didn't really get to see that full impact. I already talked about Austin Hooper, bro. I'll release that later. Like, yeah, why a running back, Eli says. Why a running back? Like, I understand David Johnson, good player, but if you're going to trade Hopkins, don't you want to get like a corner or like a defensive end or like an offensive lineman? Like, David Johnson wasn't even the best running back on the Cardinals last year. Is J.J. Watt going to be traded now? Because, you know, that'd be pretty cool. Wow. And the Cardinals, I mean, now they can draft a tackle in the first round. No doubt about it. No doubt about it. I do believe Freeman Allen that Tom Brady will sign with the Patriots. All right, I'll talk about Cousins now. Whew. Whew. Ah. All right. Let's settle down. Need a sip of the water. Okay. Now, something else is going to happen, like... Kirk Cousins. The Vikings have re-signed and extended Kirk Cousins to a 2-year deal worth $66 million. In all, it's 3 years, $96 million with $61 million guaranteed. Cousins, it clears $10 million for the Vikings this year to help them sign other players. I do think it allowed them to franchise tag Anthony Harris. Cousins was due $29.5 in the final year of his old contract. Now under the contract for 3 years, it's $96 million guaranteed. This might have a little bit of an impact on the rest of the quarterback market, but let's just stick to Kirk Cousins for now. So Kirk Cousins. I do want to check out the full details of the contract and the annual. So in 2020, he'll make $21 million. In 2021, he'll make $31 million. And in 2022, get this, he is set to make $45 million. Damn. So this year it helps the Vikings a lot with their cap space because they are in cap hell, basically. Like, they're stuck. So that allows them to maneuver some money and to sign some other players. Hopefully Everson Griffin, retaining him as one of them. 2021, $31 million, even if they were to stay at that number, is not a bad number. It's still, I think, like in the top 6 or 7 of the quarterbacks, and by the time that next year rolls around and all the other quarterbacks are signed, including Patrick Mahomes and all these others, $31 million for Kirk Cousins, a borderline top 10 guy. A top 10 guy last year, I would say is decent money. It's a pretty good deal. But 2022 is where they're going to have to restructure. They're going to have to work it around if they still want to keep Kirk Cousins when he's 34 years old in 2022, because they're not going to keep him to $45 million on that salary. So I think Cousins played well last year. I would say he was one of the 10 best quarterbacks last year. Very effective. I thought the new offense suited him very well. Now, of course, his offensive coordinator left him, so we'll have to see how he adapts to that. But I like Kirk Cousins. He's a good guy. He's a good leader. I feel like the Vikings organization really likes him. I think he kind of showed people that he can do it in the playoffs with that game versus the Saints, and that the whole story of him not being able to get it done under the bright lights was just a myth. So he proved that. I think he took steps forward in his career this year to proving that he can be a quarterback that can do some things in the playoffs and can be a quarterback to lead a winning team. So Cousins, I like him. Is he like one of the 5 best guys in the league? No. But I definitely think that if you got rid of Cousins, you would have a hard time replacing Kirk Cousins. And for a team like the Vikings, who are still in the window to win, I think this was a smart move, and this was a smart financial move to keep the rest of the players to enable yourself a roster that can compete in this NFC. So the Kirk Cousins extension was a smart one, and I think a wise one from both sides. And happy for Kirk Cousins to get all that guaranteed money. If you don't like Kirk Cousins, if you think he sucks, whatever, at the very least you could say Kirk Cousins is smart when it comes to negotiating contracts, and he's helped the rest of the NFL do so. So good on you, Kirk Cousins. Yeah, Kirk Cousins isn't that old. He's 32, which for quarterbacks is young. Well, he'll be 32. Like, there's quarterbacks playing at 40 now. That's still like middle-aged at the very least. Okay, we have another move. I just spoke about Kirk Cousins. A former Vikings quarterback has now signed in the NFC North, or is at least talking about it. The Bears are talking to Teddy Bridgewater about a deal that, if finalized, would most likely make him the starter over Mitchell Trubisky. Teddy Bridgewater, $21 million a year for the Chicago Bears, is a big possibility right now, according to Roto World and Pro Football Talk. So I'll keep you in tune on that and up to date on that. Yep. What do I think is going to happen to Bell? I think he's going to stay with the Jets because I don't think anyone's going to... Then again, David Johnson. But there's Bill O'Brien isn't going to trade for both David Johnson and Le'Veon Bell. Or will he? That's the question. It hasn't happened yet, but it's likely going to happen. Teddy Bridgewater. Okay, let's see. If you have any previous moves you want me to discuss, let me know in the chat. Let me go down this just in case I didn't miss any big signings. On the David Njoku note, Mark Sessler did tweet that this is a reminder that the Browns coach Kevin Stefanski employed a 2 tight end set more than any other team in the NFL last year with the Vikings. So Austin Hooper and David Njoku could both coexist in Cleveland. It's a possibility. Still no news on Darius Slay. Bills re-signed Quentin Spain. I talked about that a couple days ago. Franchise tag for Bud Dupree. I don't even know how they have the money to do that. No update on Amari Cooper. Anything else here? Tender for Kareem Hunt. The Colts release Marcus Hunt. Just going through everything I've seen. Dak Prescott got the franchise tag. And AJ Green got the franchise tag. Might be traded. Titans put Derrick Henry on franchise tag. Falcons released Devonta Freeman. I talked about that. Oh, Christian Kirksey. I didn't talk about that. Signing. And Shaq Barrett got franchise tagged. Jameis Winston's a free agent. All right, let's talk about Christian Kirksey. What a day. You can always count on the NFL, eh? Always count on the NFL to brighten the spirits of the world. That's what I always say. Okay. So let's take a look at the depth chart of the Packers, which is already updated by our lads. Good work. Okay. Christian Kirksey, linebacker, formerly of the Cleveland Browns, has been signed by the Green Bay Packers. So the Packers replace Blake Martinez with Christian Kirksey. Martinez was set to get too much money on the open market, yet to be signed so far. But Kirksey, at 28 years old, going into 2020, he was released by the Cleveland Browns prior to free agency and had a rough season last year, playing only 2 games for the Browns, had some injury issues, played only 7 games in 2018. It's been a couple of seasons since he played a full 16-game season. When he has played, Kirksey has shown he is athletic. He has shown he can run. He has shown he can blitz well. He has shown he's a good tackler. And he can make some plays. Now, I wouldn't say Kirksey is the best in coverage. I think he's average. But he is a lot more athletic than a player like Blake Martinez, which I think is the direction the Packers are trying to go at inside linebacker, is for more athletic linebackers. So Kirksey, no doubt right now, he is the best, most notable name that the Packers have at inside linebacker on their roster as of today. When taking a look at the contract, Kirksey has agreed to terms for 2 years, $16 million deal with the Green Bay Packers. So that's, let's just say, $8 million a year. I don't know the terms in terms of if it's guaranteed or not, but as a cap casualty, Kirksey basically was released because he hasn't been able to be reliable for the Browns. He hasn't been able to stay on the field. He's been injured. So I believe he's an interesting fit for Green Bay. I do think the money surprised me a little bit. It seemed like too much for a player that hasn't played in like 3 years, basically, like at least 10 games in 3 seasons. So maybe it was a little bit of a risky signing, but I do believe that when Kirksey is actually healthy, he's a starting caliber NFL linebacker. He's a solid player, and he does give the Packers a linebacker that sideline to sideline is good. He can run, and he's good versus the run, which Martinez was getting eaten up by blockers. He was not very good in the run game. Big reason was that 49ers game, which is why they didn't re-sign him. So for Kirksey, it's a little bit different. And I think that's what Cleveland, they completely are revamping their entire linebacker position. Schobert's gone. Kirksey is gone. And Kirksey has now found a new home with the Green Bay Packers for 2020. We'll see how he fits in, because the Packers, they don't really play a lot of linebackers within their defense with Pettin. So he'll likely be one of their 2 linebackers that they play with regularity. And to me, I really don't want to blame Blake Martinez 100% for the flaws of the Packers' run defense in 2019. Part of it I just feel like was they were too small of a defense. They played only really Martinez at linebacker for a lot of snaps, too many snaps in my opinion. So I do believe that Kirksey is just the beginning for the Packers in signing some linebackers, signing some beef in the middle of their defense, and some players that can make some plays versus the run game and not be overpowered. And that's what Kirksey will give you for the Packers. So that's my thoughts on Christian Kirksey. All right. What else? Nothing's really happened since this DeAndre Hopkins thing. It's kind of like crazy. I think everybody's just... Oh! We have a signing. Nick Kwiatkowski has been signed by the Las Vegas Raiders. So the Raiders get their linebacker. We knew that they would be in play for a linebacker. And they signed Nick Kwiatkowski, who had a really, really good season for the Bears last season. Got the play time that he needed to really show off his skill set. And Kwiatkowski is a smart middle linebacker. He is a player that I believe was just waiting for that playing time and finally got it in 2019. He ranked 15th by PFF in 2019, in large part replacing both Danny Trevathan and Roquan Smith when they were injured throughout the season last year. And that's where he really was able to become the most consistent inside linebacker for that defense. He graded well as a pass rusher last year, being one of the best for inside linebackers in the entire league, grading at an 81.8 for PFF, which is in the top 10. And overall, he is, I would say, not an upper echelon linebacker, but he's more of a player that I look at and say, for a long time, I thought he was better than just a backup. And finally, he's going to be given the opportunity to be a starting caliber linebacker in Vegas. I think what Gruden wanted for his defense was a smart guy in the middle of his defense, an athletic guy in the middle of his defense, and a player that can command the rest of the defense. And whether that's giving audibles, checks, all that sort of stuff, Nick Kwiatkowski can certainly do that. And he upgrades what they had at that middle linebacker position previously from 2019, a position that they desperately needed to add to. Vontaze Burfict is gone. Really all they have on their roster is Nicholas Moreau. That's about it that I really look at and say, this guy can be a starter. The rest of them are fighting for a roster spot. And I don't think that will be the last ad that the Raiders make at the linebacker position, but I do think it's a wise one. And this is the type of value add that I think the Raiders have been looking for. And I think I got to give more credit to Mike Mayock for what they've been able to do with this roster in short time, turning it over. They were looked like complete idiots for trading Amari Cooper and Khalil Mack, but I do believe the Raiders can be a pretty talented team soon And I think this signing helps them. I do want to find out what the contract is, but I did list Nick Kwiatkowski as one of my underrated free agents. And in terms of my linebacker rankings, I do want to check where I had him. I had him at number 7. So he was up there on my list. And definitely a starting caliber player. Now, the interesting thing about Kwiatkowski is he's going to be playing in a different scheme. He's going to be playing more of a 4-3 base defense as opposed to a 4-3 base defense. So his role might change a little bit, but not a ton. A lot of defenses, they mostly play nickel. But yeah, I'm just happy for him because he's going to finally get an opportunity to get out of the shadow of some of these inside linebackers from Chicago. I will find out those contract details as soon as possible, though. The Cowboys are signing tight end Blake Jarwin to a 3-year extension worth up to $24 million. Sources tell me he gets $9 million guaranteed. That seems like a lot of money for Blake Jarwin. He's a decent player, and he should be the starting tight end of the team, but that seems like too much for my money. Another tight end is gone, though, off the market. Hey, I just noticed it's 3/16 day. What did I say? 4-3 twice? He's 3-4. He played more of a 3-4 linebacker type of role in base defense. Kwiatkowski did. Now he's going to be playing in 4-3 base defense in Raiders. Just reported the Texans are on drugs. I would agree with that. Do I think Winston is going to the Raiders? I don't think he is, but I think it would be very interesting. They have Elliott signed. They need to sign Dak. Eagles haven't signed anyone yet. As far as I've seen. Kevin Urquhart says Cooper is gone. Littleton hasn't been signed. Kwiatkowski was signed by the Raiders. Just for the sake of it, Kwiatkowski ranked 15th for PFF. I want to check where the best Oakland linebacker ranked. The answer is 80th. Pretty good. So yeah, massive upgrade for the Raiders linebacking group. That will help their entire defense. Sometimes a linebacker that's smart, instinctive, can help an entire defense. It helps elevate an entire defense. And I'm sure he's going to be a tackling machine in Vegas. Saints slap first round tender on Taysom Hill. Thought that was coming. I think I've caught up to mostly everything. Vincent says, breaking news. The Texans were being blackmailed by the Cardinals and forced to make the idiotic trade. All right, no spam, Vincent. But I appreciate it. Clowney going to the Falcons, says King. Max says, Vincent, we saw the first time. Ultra says, Taysom Hill is so overrated. Says the Falcons fan. I believe Taysom Hill is going to be the next starting quarterback for the Saints after Drew Brees. Benny says, where's Brady going? New England. Not confirmed, but confirmed. Anthony says, do you think the Pats will suck without Brady? They won't have to worry about that because they're going to have him. But if they don't, I don't know. It's a tough question. Depends who their quarterback is. Okay. I just got an update. The Colts have had discussions with free agent quarterback Phillip Rivers. And while nothing is done, he's a clear target for Indy. We shall see if they can agree on the money. Ian Rappaport. There you go. Phillip Rivers. Colts. Not signed yet, but very well could be soon. Talk about my Pats. What do they need? My Pats need to sign Tom Brady. Let's start with that. They need receivers. They need tight ends. Their offensive line's good as long as they keep Tunney and don't trade him. Defensively, I'd like some edge players and a big-ass defensive lineman who can take up space. We'll have to see with Van Noy. No news on Van Noy. No news on Jamie Collins. So no movement on that front. No movement on the defensive front in terms of like Jadeveon Clowney, DJ Reader, Byron Jones. None of these guys. No real tweets. No news on them. So I'll keep you updated when I hear that. But I do expect that Van Noy, Collins, those guys will fall in behind of the Clowneys and all those type of guys. So. Do you think Jacoby Myers will have a role in 2020? Yeah, I think he'll probably be on the roster. I don't know how big the role will be. We'll have to see how he develops in training camp. I think that's probably going to say how big of a role he'll have. And depends how many receivers they bring in. Dominic says Tom Brady is coming to Tampa. Steve says Niners, Sanders or Ward, or let them both walk. I think they should keep Ward and let Sanders walk. I think Sanders would be nice to keep, but I think if you have to keep one, keep Ward. Carolina started shopping McCaffrey. That would be wild. Facts over fiction. I wouldn't be shocked, though, because I believe he does need a new contract. Alshon Jeffrey traded for a Popeyes chicken sandwich. I think, honestly, that's probably a bad trade for the person that got Alshon Jeffrey. Just kidding. I love you, Alshon. Where do I think Robbie Anderson is going? I want him to sign with Green Bay, but I don't think that's going to happen. I could see the Raiders. I could see the Saints. I could see the Jets. Back to the Jets. There's a lot of teams. Redskins. What should the Redskins do? They need receivers. They need to replace one of their guards. They probably have to trade Trent Williams, and we'll see what they get back for him. Defensively, I want to see them sign corners. Do I think Cooper will stay in Dallas? Yes. Chris Harris to the Chargers. Really? I didn't hear that. If I had to guess, I'd say no, but I wouldn't rule it out. Mitch, who retires first, Tom Brady or The Undertaker? Probably Tom Brady. I don't think Undertaker's ever going to retire. President Trump is in the chat. He says, hello, I'm President, and I demand to know where you think Jameis Winston will end up. Well, thank you, President, for joining the chat. I believe that Jameis Winston will end up back in Tampa Bay. I'm sticking with it. I do believe there's other places for him to go, though. Throwing some of them out there. I think if the Colts for some reason can't figure out a deal for Rivers, which I think is doubtful, the Colts could be a place. I've heard the Steelers. I think the Raiders would be interesting. I think if the Patriots don't have Brady, I think that's an opening. There's a few. I think Winston might have to go somewhere and be a backup if he doesn't go back to Tampa, which kind of, I don't know. I would rather have Winston as my starter than Bridgewater personally, but that's just my opinion. I could see some people disagreeing with me there. Hot Take says Winston to the Pats after Brady leaves. It would be exciting. I'd be down for it. How much better do you think the Cardinals will be with DeAndre Hopkins? Ooh, I think they'll be a lot better this season, but that's including other moves they'll make. Just with DeAndre Hopkins, and assuming they get a tackle in the first round, they could have one of the top 5 offenses in the league. I don't think that's crazy to say. Their offense was very efficient last year with not a ton of talent around Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray makes things happen. Cliff Kingsbury started to figure it out at the end of the year. The running game was extremely underrated for them, and assuming they keep Kenyon Drake, their offense will be very explosive. But the thing is, their division is very tough, and it's going to be difficult to get out of that division. I think they probably end up somewhere between 6-10 and 9-7 this next season. That's as of now, but I do think that DeAndre Hopkins makes their offense a heck of a lot better, but they still need to add to their defense as well. Do I think the Cardinals are a contender? No. Would I be shocked if they made the playoffs? No. But I don't think they're a contender. What do the Eagles need? Corners, and more corners. They also need linebackers and receivers and more receivers. And then another receiver, and then possibly another corner after that. So those are the things that the Eagles need. Do I think Kyler's going to have a sophomore slump? No. Randy says if you are with Hopkins, that would be difficult to achieve. If you're a Cowboys fan, you trash. I'm not. But thank you anyway. Hot Take Augie says OBJ to the Seahawks. Facts over fiction. I can see you on ESPN in 15 years. 15 years? Damn! I'd be 38. Fucking old. 38. Your opinion on what the Bears need? The Bears. I think the Bears need offensive line, specifically tackle. Maybe a guard as well. They need a tight end, a wide receiver, a quarterback. Defensively, they don't need a lot. I would say like a corner. Let's see what happens with Clinton Dix. And that's about it. I mean, if they could add another linebacker because they lost Kwiatkowski, but I think they're pretty good up front. But their secondary could use a little tweaking, and their offense definitely, offensive line, receivers, tight ends. They could add more weapons, and then let's see if they do end up signing Teddy. 10 years. 10 years, the Bottom Line View and Hot Take Hockey will have their own studio. That's what I say. Vikings play second-round tender on linebacker Eric Wilson. Interesting. Thoughts on the Panthers? I love the Panthers. I like that they're keeping Cam. But I really don't know what they're going to do because they have a new coach. They have a new defensive coordinator, new offensive coordinator. I mean, the entire team is flipped upside down. So what do I think they should do? I think they need to probably get a guard now after Turner was traded. Defensively, Let's see. They have a lot of free agents. Their entire defensive line is basically free agents. So maybe they'll sign somebody there. They're probably going to lose Bradbury. I think they're kind of in a rebuilding stage. Is the Bridgewater thing official yet? Nope. Update on Joe Tunney and the Patriots. The Patriots state that utilizing the franchise designation on Joe Tunney allows both sides more time to reach the goal of a long-term agreement. Initial intent to strike long-term deal. If they can't or don't establish enough momentum this week, it gets interesting. Jeff Howe. There are some rumblings that OBJ is getting shopped around. So there you go. If Odell signs with the Patriots or gets traded to the Patriots, I will run around this entire building, come back, and scream. Am I a Saquon fan? Yeah, I love Saquon. He's awesome. Brady to the Chargers. Hopefully not, but could happen. Juan says, Steelers are trying to deal veteran Ramon Foster. The team will likely part ways with the guard if they can't find a deal. All right, so let's take a look at some teams that I think could trade for him. So I think he's still a good player. Had a good season last year. Or actually didn't, but had a down year last year, but it's been a good player for a long time. So let's see where Foster could go. Just checking out the teams. I think who's a team that needs a run blocking guard? Bears. Broncos would be very realistic. The Ravens, even though the Steelers wouldn't trade them to the Ravens. Dolphins could use another guard, but he's a little old. Redskins. Saints, for sure. Saints would make a lot of sense. What else? Probably the Rams would make sense. The Jets would make sense. The Cardinals, Panthers, and that's about it. Best player in the draft. Honestly, I can't really answer that to the best of my ability because I haven't scouted the draft yet. Or fully, so I can't really give you that answer yet, but I will eventually give you that answer. So if you aren't subscribed, subscribe, Liam. I should actually do that right now. We have 322 people watching. And let me see. Something happened. I got an alert. Oh, it's just about Major League Baseball. Who cares? Give me some free agency. Okay, overlays. There we go. Gronk spiked the like button, guys, if you're just joining. If you're enjoying this live analysis, free agency reactions, Gronk spiked the like button. Let's try to get 100 likes. Subscribe to the Bottom Line View if you haven't already. Help me reach my goal of 20,000 subscribers, guys. That would mean a lot to me. Just hit 19,000, looking to get 1,000 by the end of this month. If you love the NFL, I promise you nobody gives you more videos, more content, more in-depth analysis, more live videos than I do. I promise you that. So subscribe. Give me a chance. If you don't like me, you can just unsubscribe. All right? That's how we do it. And for all the long-term subscribers, I appreciate you. Diggs to who? I wonder if Diggs is actually on the free agent market. I haven't heard anything about Diggs, but Diggs is interesting. But yeah, you're right. Mr. Flores is breaking news. Sources say OBJ is being shopped around. So yeah, that's definitely a thing. I've seen it. Thank you for subscribing, for the people that are subscribing. If DeAndre Hopkins could get traded and he wasn't being shopped around, then I feel like OBJ, Diggs, and guys with rumors, and Brandon Cooks as well has been said to being shopped around as well. So, I mean, lots of Green Bay needs receivers, Humble says. I agree. Diggs to the Falcons. I think of all the positions they need, I think that's kind of like last on their priority list is the receiver position. What receiver should the Packers look at in free agency? Here's my list. I got my trusty list here. I think it would be interesting if they traded for AJ Green, if they signed Robbie Anderson or Emmanuel Sanders. I haven't heard anything on Brashad Perryman. I haven't heard anything on any of the receivers yet, so that's interesting. There's also Demarcus Robinson out there. Tajay Sharp is an interesting one with his connection with LaFleur. So there's quite a few free agent receivers like in the top. I don't think there's a lot of depth to it in free agency, but there are like 5 to 10 decent ones that I think would help the Packers. Jay Glazer said another big trade is coming. Okay, interesting. OBJ to the Texans. That would be funny. Also, guys, you can follow me on social media at Mitch Milani, as you see there on the screen. Diggs to the Pats for Tunney. That's a possibility. I would throw that out there. That's a good one. What else we have? I already talked about Rick Wagner. Run CMC. OG Run CMC. Bro, they were talking about Christian being traded. What do you think? Devin McCourty is back in New England. Yes, I'm very excited about that. Do you think Stafford will get traded? No. OBJ to the Redskins. That would be funny after the whole Norman situation. Bills need a superstar wide receiver, says Logan. Yeah, I don't disagree. They could definitely use one. And they tried to get one last year. Yeah, I have Instagram. Same thing. I don't post as much on Instagram as Twitter, but you can still follow me there. Dak or Brady for the Cowboys? Brady. They already tagged Dak, so Dak's not going anywhere. Let's see what Ian said. OBJ back to the Big Blue. Oh, Colin Cowherd actually tweeted that another major trade was coming. I could see like Odell, it being Odell. We'll have to see. I'm ready for it, though. Chandler Jones tweeted about DeAndre Hopkins. Best news of 2020. Okay. New signing. Dolphins are expected to sign former Bills first-round pass rusher Shaq Lawson, sources say. He had 6.5 sacks last year and will help Miami affect the quarterback. Ian Rappaport coming in clutch just in time. Shaq Lawson to the Miami Dolphins. The Miami Dolphins. Miami Dolphins. Miami Dolphins #1. They got their new edge rusher for their defense in Brian Flores. They desperately needed edge rushers, and they get one. Now, Shaq Lawson had one of his best seasons last year, if not his best season last year. I think he was kind of an interesting name in free agency because you didn't know if the Bills were interested in re-signing him or not. He's a former first rounder. He's shown some bright spots, but also shown inconsistency. And that's the type of player that I feel like can always be a value in free agency. Sometimes guys like Shaq Lawson are just in the wrong system. They're on the wrong team. They're being coached by the wrong coach. And oftentimes I wouldn't say that about Sean McDermott, who's an excellent defensive coach. But you could say that potentially there is always the possibility that Shaq Lawson was in the wrong system. And it's a different system that Brian Flores will be running. He wants a specific type of player. And I do think Lawson will be a little bit more stand-up, a little bit more blitzing-oriented in Miami. He had his best season last year in terms of pass rush productivity, playing 15 games. He had 6.5 sacks. He had 18 quarterback hits. He had 13 tackles for loss. He was a productive player on the edge, and he did not start for them. He was a rotationary player. I do think that he'll probably start more often in Miami. And when looking at Miami's depth chart, they definitely needed this type of player. Now, does this keep them out of the Jadeveon Clowney conversation? That's interesting. Because they really, looking at their edge position, I mean, they have Charles Harris and really no one else of note. And even most people here probably don't know who Charles Harris is. Their interior defensive line is not horrible. They drafted Christian Wilkins. They could re-sign John Jenkins. They also signed Taco Charlton last season. But their linebackers aren't bad, but I do expect them to continue to add to the edge position. I think this is the start of it. I think this is the start of them doing that. I want to see the contract. Another trade. Did a trade just happen? Trade! Interrupting my Shaq Lawson bit. Not very nice. We'll get to that trade in a sec. I'll just say it involves a tight end. Okay. Yeah. So, Shaq Lawson, good player, good pass rusher, young. He is only 26 in 2020. He ranked 52nd at the edge position for PFF. He had a good grade, had a higher pass rush grade than a run defense grade, and I think will be a nice piece. I don't think he'll cost a ton. I want to hear the contract information. But let's get to the next deal. So, the Ravens have made a trade with the Atlanta Falcons. Hayden Hurst has been traded from the Baltimore Ravens, and there were rumors about Hayden Hurst being traded all offseason long. Hayden Hurst traded to Atlanta. Atlanta gets Hayden Hurst and a 2020 fourth-round pick. The Falcons get a 2020 second-round pick and a fifth-round pick. That's a good haul for Baltimore. Let me tell you. Now, Hayden Hurst was a former first-rounder, but Mark Andrews clearly outplayed him. And Hurst has shown some potential. And I don't want to bury the Falcons for this move. But getting a second-round pick and a fifth-round pick for Hurst and a fourth is pretty good. I mean, Baltimore, they've had him for 2 years. He's going to be 27 next year. His best season was last year with 30 catches for 349 yards and 2 touchdowns. He's still an unproven commodity at the tight end position. Now, what Hurst is he is a pass catcher. He is a good athlete. But I don't know if he can fully replace Austin Hooper. I think he's actually a slightly different player than Austin Hooper. I mean, similar, but different. I actually think that Hurst is more athletic than Hooper is. but I don't see him as being a more refined route runner, a more basically experienced pass catcher. I think Hooper is just much better as a route runner. He has better hands. I feel like he's kind of better in the middle of the field. Hurst is more of the athletic type. But I think this is good for the Ravens because they found that Andrews was the better tight end. But it does hurt them because they're going to need to replace that tight end position because it was a very big part of their offense. So they wanted to get a good haul back, and that is what they got. I mean, getting a second-round pick and a fifth-round pick for Hurst and a fourth at this point, for a player that was a first-round pick, but he really hasn't done anything of note in the last 2 years, is a big deal for the Ravens. So I think the Ravens won that trade, but it definitely will help replace Austin Hooper. And he's still very cheap for Atlanta. So I understand why Atlanta made the move, because they wanted a tight end with the athletic profile and with the skill set to replace Austin Hooper. But Baltimore getting that value back, I think, ultimately wins the day on that one. The craziest trade was Hopkins by far. It's not even close. All right. For Shaq Lawson. Okay. The Dolphins are giving Shaq Lawson a 3-year deal worth $30 million. Ugh. Okay, let's redo that. The Dolphins are giving Shaq Lawson a 3-year deal worth $30 million. A nice payday for Shaq Lawson. Yeah, I mean, this is a very similar contract to what they just gave to... Let me see, actually. I want to compare these. They gave Ereck Flowers the exact same deal. 3 years, $30 million. And they're very similar players. They're both first-round picks a few seasons ago that have a lot of physical potential and a lot of talent, but are just reaching that talent. It's interesting. It's almost like a strategy the Dolphins are doing here, are going after. That's fascinating. What do you guys think of the Dolphins' strategy to go after these former first-round picks that are just starting to prove their worth in the NFL and just starting to hit their prime? Lawson for $10 million a year. I actually want to compare that to market value. It's the exact same contract that they just gave their guard. Come on. Computer's running so many tabs, it's getting slow. So, when comparing Lawson to the rest of the league, he makes about the same amount of money as Jerry Hughes, who's his former teammate. Slightly more than Sue, slightly more than Derek Wolfe, more than Sheard, Ansah. Interesting. I think that's a fair contract for Shaq Lawson. It might be a little much, but I mean, for a free agency contract, that is pretty fair. Like, there's players that are below him that are better than him that have lower contracts, but that's because really it's because they were either rookies, they're still on their rookie contract, or they're veterans who've outplayed their contract and they'll be looking for a new deal. So $10 million, I don't think it's bad. 3 years. But I'm just really fascinated to see what the Dolphins are doing in this free agency, giving these players with a lot of potential these 3-year contracts. And I think their hope is that those players will outdo their contracts, outperform their contracts, and ultimately be a bargain because they know that they were formerly highly regarded. And a lot of teams that often get a lot of steals, like the Patriots or like the Ravens, like the Seahawks, often go with this approach, and I think it's smart. Okay, waiting for the next move. Waiting for this big trade. I'm assuming this was the trade, the Hayden Hurst trade, but also I don't think it was broken out by... Okay, Adam Schefter just tweeted. Okay, so it was Atlanta's 5th round pick that was sent to Jacksonville for Calais Campbell. There we go. Somebody tweeted, announce OBJ to Green Bay, you coward. All right, awesome. No word on Teddy. No official word on Teddy, but the rumors are that he'll go to Chicago. Rumor that Corey Clement departure, the Eagles may go after OBJ. What does Corey Clement have to do with OBJ? Will says, hey, what's up, Will? Where's Melvin Gordon going? The only, rumors or buzz I've heard was Miami. Announce Jack Conklin to the Jets. It hasn't happened yet. Any news on Darius Slay? No. Felix says hi. What's up, Felix? Guys, if you haven't already, Gronk Spike the like button. And, of course, subscribe to the Bottom Line View if you love the NFL. If you love the NFL, subscribe. If you don't love the NFL, I don't know why you're here, to be honest. Sup, Adam? Any news about the Saints? No. Anastasia says Clement released. Oh. Like cap space? Is that what you're talking about? I actually didn't even get anything about that. Any news about the Giants? No. What are the chances OBJ gets traded? Right now, I want to say 55. Any news about the Lions? No. What should the Chargers do? I think the Chargers need to continue to rebuild their offensive line. Defensively, I'd like to see them bring in some big people on the defensive line. And offensively, I mean, they have the weapons. Hunter Henry's back. Eckler's there. I think Gordon will be gone. But they need to find their quarterback, and that will likely be in the draft. Wagner was signed by Green Bay. Calais Campbell went to Baltimore. Shaq Lawson going to Miami. Yes. News on the Eagles. Nope. What should the Giants do? Why does everyone keep saying OBJ to the Texans? Is that like a thing? They just traded for the great David Johnson. I'm just reporting what the other people are reporting, bro. Browns fan. What do you think the Bears should do? I've talked about the Bears already, but tackle, guard, safety, corner, and then replace Kwiatkowski. There's been no news right now. I will let you know as soon as I know. Okay. Hearing some interest from the Seahawks and the Vikings with a trade involving Stephon Diggs. Sorry, I just got very excited there. Stephon Diggs might be traded to the Seahawks. Mike Clay tweets, so basically the Ravens traded their number 3 tight end for a second-round pick. The Cardinals traded their number 2 running back for DeAndre Hopkins. Charles Robinson reports, I believe the Buccaneers' plan is to pull out all the stops for Tom Brady. Beyond that, a Saints source is convinced Teddy Bridgewater is a target for Tampa. I wonder if the Patriots would trade for Cooks. Oh, Ramon Foster retired. Wow. So that opens up a spot on the Steelers' offensive line. Wow. Got to protect Ben next year. Let's check their offensive line out. So that would open up a hole at left guard. They might want to re-sign Finney. He's a center, but might help. They could potentially draft someone at that spot. But, yeah, Foster, starting left guard for the Steelers, retired. That was surprising. He was in trade talks before. Byron Jones is going to be the highest paid corner in football. Probably. Broncos have interest in Melvin Gordon, says Nick. Is that true? Both Lockett and Metcalf could be wide receiver 1. Seattle has more important needs. I agree. I definitely agree with you. They need defense. They need edge. They need safe. They need corner. They need defensive line. They need a lot on defense. Ugh. Are you really bringing up winning as a cornerback statistic? Felix says, Mitch, what do you think is the best trade? Do you mean for both sides, or do you mean for just one? The best trade is Arizona acquiring DeAndre Hopkins. Eagles should get Diggs or OBJ. Nick says Jets talk with James Bradberry are heating up. Okay. Falcons might release Alex Mack. I haven't heard that. Sorry, guys, just checking it. Checking it. No new news as of now. Might actually be a good time to take a little break, but I'll just keep this stream on so I can keep going. What team is doing the worst? I would say the Texans right now. Apparently the Broncos are looking for a running back. Unless if they sign Hyde or Gordon or Drake, or the transition tag for Drake. I don't know why they would be looking for a running back, but I mean, there are a few out there. There's not a lot, but there's a few. What's next for the Ravens? Well, they just traded Hurst, traded for Campbell. I think they need to take a look at linebackers and their offensive line, and maybe even be in the receiver market. Daniel says Arik Armstead to the Pats. I would love that. I think Ebron would be a good fit in New England. Is Brady going to retire? No. Funky says I'm a sub on 2 phones. That's commitment. Redskins news. Nothing other than they lost one of their guards. You probably already know that. Jason Peters to the Vikings. Maybe. No news on that. I don't think Peters will be signed for a while, but I could be totally wrong. How are the Packers doing? The Packers signed Christian Kirksey, linebacker. What do I think of Teddy going to the Bears? Well, it's not like confirmed yet, but I do think it would be interesting. Let me think. I feel like Teddy Bridgewater going to the Bears. I think it makes sense because Matt Nagy likes to pass the ball underneath, short. He wants a quarterback that can make quick decisions. I think Teddy is that type of guy. Now, what Teddy isn't is he doesn't have a super strong arm. He's not super athletic. You kind of lose some of the assets of Trubisky, as crazy as that is to say, if you are to start Bridgewater over Trubisky. Trubisky is more athletic. Trubisky does have a bigger arm. But Teddy Bridgewater is much better with the football, protects the football. He's much better decision maker. He's accurate. I also do wonder about Teddy. He isn't really a cold weather quarterback. Like, can he be a cold weather, windy quarterback? I don't know. I don't know if he has the arm to slice through the windy city like that. So that's a question I have. I think about Teddy. I think this way about Teddy. He's like Alex Smith. Like the way Alex Smith was. Like, he's not going to win you a lot of games, but he's also not going to lose you a lot of games. So for a team like Chicago that's defensive built, I do believe that it would be an upgrade for Teddy Bridgewater to start over Trubisky, but I don't think he would be the franchise quarterback. I don't think he is a franchise quarterback. I think he's just a decent starter that you can get by with. That's my opinion. Stephon Diggs just tweeted! He tweeted, "It's time for a new beginning." Oh my goodness, guys. Something's about to go down. Something's about to go down. Is it Seattle? Where is he going to go? Oh my. Stephon Diggs leaving the building. Here, I'll show you guys. You see it? Look at that bad boy. It's time for a new beginning. Interesting. Checking out the Twitter here. What does it mean? What does it mean, Stephon? Buccaneers have made an aggressive pitch for Tom Brady. What do you think? Where do you think Diggs is going to go, guys? Where do you think he's going to go? Come on, Diggs. Give me the news. Unless he's just teasing us. That would be a tease and a half. This is wild. This is a great day. This is a great day. A great day to be a football fan. I don't know how you guys feel, but come on, Diggs. I already talked about Kirk Cousins. I don't want to talk about him anymore. OBJ to the Texans, says JJ. Diggs to Cardinals confirmed, says New York. Phenom. That would be wild. Phenom says Diggs is immature. He folds when times get rough. Isn't he the one that brought the Vikings the miracle? I don't know if Diggs is saying that for people to trade for him or if Diggs is just saying that. Like, Michael Lombardi says this confirms his availability. Like, that's kind of my thought. Like, it doesn't necessarily mean he's about to be traded, but it means, like, okay, come get me. I'm available. You know what I mean? Aaron says, I'm a Colts fan. I really don't want Rivers. Well, too bad. What do you think will happen with Jameis? I think he's going to end up back in Tampa Bay. Because I think Brady's going to go back to New England, and I think they'll sign Jameis. Yeah, Savage says Diggs says he wants... He said that because he wants out. Toby says, the news is great. This dude is boring. No offense, though. All right, sorry, Toby. Run CMC says, why do I get my notifications about an hour after they happen? That's why you got to get the Twitter notifications. That's how you get them right on time. Yes, I have a favorite team. Look behind me, and it's one of the teams on the wall. When something happens, I'll put the Twitter up. Tom Brady to the Jags. I am getting a little fatigued right now, though. I think, what time did I start? 12:30? We're going on couple hours. Getting a little tired. Michael Lombardi says, hearing from a source that the Bears are trying to get involved with trading for Nick Foles. See? Hearing from a source that the Bears are trying to get involved with trading for Nick Foles. I thought that was a possibility. We'll see if it happens. I wonder if the Cousins contract had anything to do with Diggs. Yes, Run CMC knows. Gronk spiked the like button. Tom Brady to the MLB. Possibility. He was drafted by the Expos. I can't really say anything right now. I don't really know what to say. There's nothing to say. DeAndre Hopkins to open contract extensions with the Cardinals. Interesting. Cooper has hit the market. Yes, sir, Nick. You don't have a mom? Everybody has a mom, Dean. Come on, bro. How did you come to Earth? Let's change. Gronk to the Dolphins for the lulz. What do you think the Jets do at backup quarterback? Probably draft somebody. Okay, Bears not landing Bridgewater. So, Chicago not expected to sign Teddy Bridgewater. Other quarterback options still in play, according to NFL Network. There you go. Is Diggs better than Thielen? Ask the chat. Oh, Cooper's going to get a massive contract no matter where he goes. Are you my friend? I mean, sure. If you want me to be. Fitty Trent is in the chat. Now that's a legend. He says, what have my Packers done today? They signed a linebacker today. And they also signed a right tackle because the right tackle, Brian Bulaga, is leaving. He's leaving the pack, so they replaced him. That's about it. Not a ton of moves, but a lot of big, high-profile moves across the league. Ugh. Will has spent his last 2 hours tying his shoe. I think that's a new record for longest shoe tie. Tie shoe. Shoe tie. Fitty, Trent. Goat. William says, I like tacos. I like tacos too. I want some right now, actually. Hayden Hurst to Atlanta. Brian Bulaga to the Browns is a possibility. Did the Patriots get anybody? They franchised Joe Tunney. They re-signed Devin McCourty. That's about it. Roman Foster's retired. No news. Guys, I'm going to take a little bit of a break. Just like 5 minutes. I need to get some food or something because I need to recharge for a little bit. I've been on here for 2.5 hours straight. So I will be back and I will continue to be live for as long as possible, for as long as humanly possible. But I will be probably like 10 minutes. All right. Be right back. Yo! I'm back. This is what I'm going to do while I eat here. Let's get that. There we go. Perfect. So apparently there's going to be a trade going down, but it does not involve a wide receiver. Apparently. You see that? It's up to Tom Brady to decide. Either play with Mike Evans and Chris Godwin and Bruce Arians, or go back to the absolutely no offensive weapons that he had last year with the Patriots. What would you do if you were Brady? Go back to New England? Or go to Tampa? What would you do? Notification. Why is Stephon Diggs a tease? I can't believe the Texans traded Clowney and Hopkins and didn't get a first. Texans are going to draft a receiver. See? Trade does not involve a receiver. Somebody make a move. Water on my nose. Teams have approached Jacksonville about Nick Foles for weeks. To date, Jacksonville has been unwilling to trade him. It still feels that way, but never know what happens if another team gets aggressive. Adam Schefter. Yeah, I don't know if they're really quarterback needy. They might get aggressive. Breaking, this just in. Todd Gurley has been traded to the Dolphins. The Dolphins will get Todd Gurley in a 4th, while the Rams get a 2nd-round pick. Is that even real? Why are all you guys trying to say Brady to the Jags? Are you trying to troll me or something? What will the Eagles do? Corners, more corners, wide receivers, linebacker. No Tom Brady news other than the fact that it's between the Patriots and the Bucks. Outside shot the Chargers. Why would he be traded? He would just sign there. Stop messing around with the Jags. Diggs to DC. It's possible. I think, predict. Did I predict Freeman at the very least. I might have predicted Trufant. Lions. Nothing on the Lions, one pride. Sorry, buddy. Any news on the Bears? Just the fact that they're in on Nick Foles trade talks. Todd Gurley's name coming up in trade talks, that makes sense. Guys, if you haven't already, Gronk spiked the like button. Mari Cooper to Philly. Oh, I just got an alert. JPP is going back to Tampa Bay on a 2-year contract worth $27 million. I like it. I like it for Tampa. JPP's been really good as a pass rusher the last couple of seasons, and people have not really noticed. But he was good last year. Their front seven was very underrated. It was one of the best in the league last year. In 10 games, he had 8.5 sacks. He had 16 quarterback hits in 2019. He fit what Bowles wanted to do on defense there in Tampa Bay. He had 12.5 sacks in 2018 in 16 games. So JPP is still at the top of his game as a pass rusher. He's just turning 31 now. He's been in the NFL since he was 21. So, yeah. Good move for Tampa Bay to retain him. Now they have Barrett. They have JPP on both sides, on both edges. We'll see if they do retain Sue, though. That's interesting. Kyler Murray tweeted 2 minutes ago, "Let's get right," at DeAndre Hopkins. I wonder when they're going to hit the practice field. There was a trade offer declined for Nick Foles. That's interesting. You don't really hear about that often. Come on, give me like one more big trade before I go. I want something to happen so it can keep me energized here. Kevin Durkant. How do you believe that? One Pride. No news about the Saints other than Taysom Hill being tendered. What would the price be for Diggs? He's already signed, I think. So, he would probably be like a first-round pick. He's not that old. I want to say he's like 27. Let me see. He's 26, turning 27. He's probably worth like a high second, late first. That's probably my opinion on him. His numbers actually don't look as good as his talent suggests, but he's missed some time on every season. He's never had a 16-game season. He's went over 1,000 the last 2 years. Yeah, I think he's a really good receiver. I think he's like top 20. Probably borderline top 15. So it'll be interesting to see what he gets. The Vikings have like no trade leverage though. Any news on the Patriots? Not really. Other franchise Joe Tunney. Re-signed Devin McCourty. Not too much. Nah, he's not a top 10 receiver. I don't even know if he's better than Thielen. Pretty close. You actually have to count the receivers and then you'll figure it out. James is in the chat. What's going on, James? Odell's better, talent-wise. Niners says 49ers only news is they re-sign Armstead. Correct. A Human says any news on the Seahawks? Nope. No news on the Broncos either. What receiver will the Bears get? Let's throw out Demarcus Robinson. How about him? You like him? Buffalo interested in Jordan Howard. What do I think? He's basically replacement for Frank Gore. Probably come at a cheap contract. I don't love him, but he's not a bad backup. Power running back. Will I cry on stream if Brady leaves? Probably. Am I Mitch Trubisky? I wish I made as much money as Mitch Trubisky. What you talk about Clowney to the Giants? It hasn't happened. D-Hop about to go crazy in AZ, says that boy Devin. What did the Raiders do? They signed linebacker Nick Kwiatkowski of the Bears. Good player. Do I think the Lions will trade Slay? Yes. Turtle! What's up, Turtle? Tina's in the chat. She says, anything on the Colts? Anything on the Colts? Oh, just that they're interested in signing Rivers. That's it. A Human says, Mitch, you should make a video after the draft where you predict all the team's records. Maybe I will. Maybe I won't. We'll have to see. Jake says, Tom Brady to the Bears. I would doubt it, but because they're in the quarterback market, it's a possibility. I just got an alert and it says JPP to stay with the Bucks. We already know that. Hawks better keep Clowney, says John. Anything on the Chargers? Nope. What did the Cowboys do? Nothing. Yeah, nothing. News on Arizona. D-Hop. That's all I'll say. Anything on the Eagles? Nope. Mitch, can the Bears sign Amari Cooper or trade for OBJ if Teddy is our new quarterback? It doesn't appear that Teddy will be the new quarterback. Social Assassin says Brady isn't leaving guaranteed. What, Pablo? I'm not smoking on stream. Do you think Gurley will get traded? It's a possibility. It's open. Anastasia says Diggs. No news on Diggs. What would my reaction be if Brady got traded for Jimmy? Probably pretty wild. It would probably be very confused. And that's the bottom line because Stone Cold said so. That's where I got my name. Back in the day. Fun fact. Lisa says, what do you think the Steelers will do? I think they need to replace Foster at guard first. They need to look at receivers, but they don't have a lot of money, and defensively they're pretty solid, but they could work on it. That could very well happen there, John. It would blow up the media because all of their little rants would be shut down. Would you trade an early first-round pick for OBJ? I don't think you would need to. So, I'll just say no, because I don't think you need to. Go to Diggs' Twitter. I saw his tweet. He wants to be traded. Will the Lions trade Stafford? No. It's a common question. It's not going to happen. Singh says, Mitch, where do you think is the best fit for Melvin Gordon? I really like the Steelers as a good fit, but I don't think it will happen, but I think it's a good fit. Logan says, Buffalo needs a pass rusher now. Yep. I think they needed one before. Some of you guys are repeating the same questions, and I don't appreciate it. Dean says, NFL canceled because of Corona. That's not true. Tyler says, any chance James Conner gets traded? I'd give it a 25% chance. Is the Texans going to trade for Stephon Gilmore? I hope not. It's a Patriots fan. But, nah, he's not getting traded. Will the Chiefs trade Chris Jones? Maybe. I'll give it a 35% chance. Stephen A. Smith to the Pats confirm. Boom. There's a new tweet. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. You're making me check my phone for this. Where's Diggs? Diggs is trending, by the way. He hasn't sent a new tweet. Why are you tricking me? Ha! This picture's funny. Broncos are reportedly interested. Yeah, I think someone brought that up already. How do you think Robert Quinn is a good fit for Seattle? Yeah, he's a good good fit. No, Edelman's not going anywhere. How's Quinn a good fit? Well, he fit in Dallas, which their defensive lines play sort of similar. They have similar defensive minds as coordinators, coaches, and they like to get uphill, like just go after quarterbacks. They're not really concerned so much about their edge players being run-centric. They're more worried about just pass rushing, and I think Rob Quinn would be a great fit there. And I think he would be an upgrade for that position for sure. He was really good last year. I think he'll probably cost a little bit more than Shaq Lawson, but not like a lot. Who will be the Browns' new quarterback? Mitch Trubisky. No. The Bears, I mean. The Bears' new quarterback will be Mitch Trubisky, or it's not Teddy, it seems like. I think they're counting that out. Nick Foles, I think, is the other one. Clowney tweeted. Yes, that's correct. Run CMC is correct. James says, if Brady gets traded, I'm not going to burn his Patriots. Why would you do that? William says, Dak or Wentz? I would take Wentz by that much. How do I think Juju does? I think he does better than last year. I'm going to say close. I'm going to say just gets over 1,000 yards. It's about 90 catches and 6 touchdowns. Do I know Logan Paul made a diss track on AB? Yeah, I heard it. It was interesting. Trent Williams to Browns. If it happens, what's your thoughts? I think it would be a great move for the Browns. They really need a left tackle. They need to protect Baker Mayfield. It might cost a bit of money, but that's their biggest need on their team by far. Let's change his Mitch to the Pats. What? Mitch to the Pats to play left guard. I'm playing left guard? I'm starting over Joe Tunney? Wow. Good for me. Do you think Danny Trevathan would go to the Broncos just to be on the defense? Defense that ran by Vic Fangio, who coached him back in Chicago. There's a chance, yeah. There's always a chance of reuniting with old friends. What do I think? Do I think Baker will win MVP? No. Kyler or Jared Goff? Kyler. Sources say the Niners are in a big trade. I actually scrolled past that as well. Look at Diggs' replies. You are killing me with this, guys. I need some news. I need some news. If you trick me again, I swear. Oh. So this guy named Zach said every time Stephon Gilmore, every time Stephon Diggs gets butthurt, he posts some tweet about new beginnings or change. Then we get report Minnesota has no intentions of trading Diggs, and he posts himself in Vikings uniform hugging a teammate or something. Relax, Pats fans. He's just a drama queen. And then Diggs says, nah, this ain't one of them times, champ. Something's gonna happen. So there you go. Diggs is confirming it. Why is nothing happening? I don't know, but I'm considering cutting off the stream. But when I do, everything's going to happen, and then I'm just going to have to come back on and talk or make videos about it, which kind of sucks. Oh, source. Adam Schefter, just in time by Ultra. Let me see. The Bears are focused on acquiring Andy Dalton or Nick Foles, both veteran quarterbacks who have played for either Matt Nagy or members of coaching staff. There's a sense in the organization that Trubisky should be forced to compete for the starting position. I think Andy Dalton would be a good signing for them, or a good trade. Keep streaming, please. Hey, Mitch, what team will draft Justin Herbert? I am assuming the Chargers, but I don't know for sure. What do I think if I was the Texans? I'd be hurt. If I was Deshaun Watson, I'd be pissed. No, I mean, I don't love it. Marcus Mariota to the Bears to compete with Mitch. Maybe he will play better. Well, it already says, people are reporting that it's Dalton or Foles. Bro, the 49ers are going to either get Diggs, OBJ, or AJ Green. I could see it. Especially if they let Sanders go. Did I cover who the Steelers cut? I brought it up, but it's not really a big deal, Tyler. There's no real big names there. Daniel says Darius Slay is going to the Cowboys. Mitch Trubisky to the Jags. Cool Lion says Byron Jones or Chris Harris. I would say Byron Jones. He's younger. He's in his prime. And he's a beast. Mitch, what team will T. Higgins or Justin Jefferson? No idea. There's a lot of teams in that conversation. Yes, this is a good receiver draft. I mean, yeah, they could. The Texans could draft a receiver. A Human says OBJ to the Hawks. I don't know. Matthew says breaking news. Browns trade David Njoku to the Patriots. Why do people always say breaking news, but they're lying? Guys, it's been a while. We haven't hit 200 likes yet on this video, so let's do it. Gronk spike the like button. And if you're new, subscribe to The Bottom Line View for live reactions and free agency coverage all free agency long. Do it. Just do it. All right. Diggs for Trent Williams and a pick. That would be interesting. Patriots. Brady is going to the Patriots. Diggs is practically begging to be traded. Hey, 200 likes. Thank you. Awesome. Let's reach that 20,000 subs right now today. No, I'm just kidding. How many subs do I have right now? Oh, we're at 19. 100. What is with Titans fans being butthurt that Derrick Henry didn't get a long-term deal? It's not happening. OBJ is not being traded. Stop with the rumors. I didn't say anything. Top Stream says, why is it so quiet? I don't know. Something's brewing. Something big. Whoa, hey human, don't make me feel like that. Don't make me feel bad, man. He's a running back. Am I dating Tom Brady? I wish. Unfortunately, he's buried. Just kidding. Sub Nitro says, let's get Eric Ebron on the Cowboys. Well, they just re-signed Jarwin, so it doesn't appear that they're going to be doing that. Opinion on Baker Mayfield. I think he's a little bit of a mix of what he was in his rookie and his second year. He's accurate, but I don't know if he'll ever be an elite quarterback. He isn't physically elite. I think he needs to lose weight. The guy's been gaining weight. I think he's okay. I don't know if he's ever going to be great, but I think it hurt him that Freddie Kitchens was the head coach, and I do expect him to play better in his third season. Thank you for the compliment on the Allen jersey. Who's my top 5 best Super Bowl contenders? Right now, I have no idea. Chiefs, Ravens. Thoughts on Darnold? I've never been a huge Darnold guy, personally. I don't think he's... I don't want to say he's bad, but, I don't know if he'll ever be good. I do like Daniel Jones more than Sam Darnold. I think he's physically a better quarterback. He can run. He showed me a lot in his first season, and I didn't think he was going to be very good coming in, so he impressed me. Do I think Montez Sweat was a bust? Not yet. Who's better, Baker or Goff? Ooh, good question. They're about the same. I think Goff has done more in his career, so I'd have to give him a slight advantage, but from a physical perspective, it's very close. Thoughts on Michael Gallup? Good number 2 receiver. Ravens news? Not really, nope. Thoughts on Josh Allen, the quarterback? Mitch. I like Josh Allen. I have his jersey behind me. I think he's better than Darnold, and I think he's better than Baker. And I've said that since he was drafted. So I'll just stand by it. Josh Gordon tweet? What are you talking about, Josh Gordon tweet? Do I think Darnold will be a bust? I don't know if he'll be a bust, but I don't think he'll ever live up to his potential. Who's the best quarterback in the NFC East? Wentz. Wentz, Dak, Daniel, Haskins. Am I gay? No. Hot Take Hockey said, did you see the Josh Gordon free agent tweet? Oh. Is that where you're talking? I don't know. You guys can't just put Josh Gordon tweet in the chat and then expect me to understand. Mike Reese says Bill Belichick is leading the Patriots negotiations with Tom Brady. That's a little different than past deals between Brady and the Pats with Robert Kraft. Where is the Josh Gordon tweet? Super dead right now. Man. I don't see no Josh Gordon tweet. Who do you think will be the starting quarterback for the Chargers? Taylor or Herbert? Oh, John Viveros with a tweet. I don't know if I'm allowed to be a free agent, but if I was, I like those bright green unis. Well, that could mean a lot of things. Does he mean the Seahawks? Does he mean the Jets? Does he mean the Packers? I mean, probably the Seahawks, but I'm just joking. Clowney or Joey Bosa? I'd take Joey Bosa. Reason why Tom Brady is GOAT is because of Mark Wahlberg, says Let's Change. Best quarterback in the NFL is Patrick Mahomes. No word on Jordan Phillips. Tampa Bay Vipers? Oh, okay. All right. I think I might hang it up for now. There's nothing happening right now. I might come back on later if some things happen or change. But I might as well start working on some of the individual videos and releasing those on the channel. So thanks, guys, for joining me here live. It's been a while. It's been over 3 hours. So thanks, guys, for joining me for free agency day 1. It's been a blast. I thank you all for subscribing, Gronk spiking, and might see you later tonight. So make sure you have those notifications on. Turn on the notification bell. Get the notifications for the latest videos coming out and for me going live. All right. It's been fun. Thanks. Peace out.